Yo, what up, friends? So, over the last couple of days, we've been talking Crucible and crafting. And I found a little niche thing that I knew about and didn't realize that you guys were aware of. I've been trying to help a lot of people craft some Crucible trees. And just yesterday on stream, we had somebody who had a really good Crucible tree, and they were going for a really unique craft. They wanted dot multi, chaos dot multi, +1 socketed gems, and they asked the best way to go about it. My initial response was just fracture it. And the gentleman was like, I have a Crucible tree on it. I don't want to fracture it. What if I miss? And I was like, oh, just vendor it. And he had a panic attack. And to me, that panic attack, I was just like, what's wrong? He's like, bro, you can't just vendor my item. And I was like, just remove the fracture. And he was like, remove the fracture? How do you remove the fracture? Well, if you guessed by the title of this video, you could take fractures on certain items and remove them. And I didn't realize that a lot of you guys didn't know this. I know I didn't know this until 2 leagues ago. So it kind of makes sense that this isn't like very well-known information. So,
Exile.
if I go to the vendor and I take my fractured bow and then I put a weapon stone. Oh, whoops, hold on. These need to be rare magic. Okay.
Blessings.
If I take my bow and my whetstone and my magic or rare rustic sash, I get back my exact base, eye level 82, Citadel bow, unfractured. Now this is really good information for people who like have very unique and interesting bases and they can't get another base and they try to make a fracture on it. Now you could do this for any weapon with a fracture. Now I have another weird use case scenario. Say your bow or your weapon has a Crucible tree on it and you want to try to fracture it, and we're just going to say we want added fire, attack speed, movement speed, area of effect, and brittle. Let's hypothetical, just bear with me. And you level this Crucible tree, you're ready to go, you start crafting. For some reason you want to fracture dex, but you miss and hit critical strike chance. Well, that could be fixed. We're just going to do the same thing. We're going to go to our vendor, we're going to sell it, and we're going to get back a new one. And if we look at it, the exact same Crucible tree is still present on the weapon. Now, this is really good information. Where this breaks and how this falls. If I were to take a gilded fossil, and I were to put a gilded fossil in my resonator, and then I were to update my weapon with a gilded fossil and then attempt to fracture it, now my item sells for much more to vendors. So if I do this, no, my weapon's gone. So this is something to keep an eye on. Now, a lot of people don't realize that gilded fossils, while the item sells much more to vendors and it's really cool to have on there, if you're trying to do this unique fracturing stuff, that has to be the last step you do before you craft it after you fracture. Because otherwise, when I vendor it, I just get some chaos orbs back. And if I take my last weapon without it and I do it again, I get my weapon back. Now, this is really good to know for weapons. I haven't been able to find a recipe for body armors. If you guys know for one for armors or shields or anything else, please by all means let me know. But the only other recipe or vendor recipe that I found that this works on is boots. Say you craft your boots and fracture your boots and you were going for max life and you miss and you hit chaos resistance. Well, to get the vendor recipe to work for boots, to unfracture your boots, you have to re-roll the boots until they hit movement speed. That I did not know, so I had to like go back, pause the video, see what the heck was going on and look it up. But yeah, you can actually take boots, and if you have a boots that have movement speed on them with a movement speed flask and an augmentation orb, you can actually sell them and get back a pair of boots. Really cool to know what this recipe is. Note the boots have 25% movement speed, and if I do the vendor recipe, it kicks it up to 30. But yeah, we can go to 30% movement speed with our boots. So if you have 25, 15, 20, you can kick them up and go higher and higher and higher up until 30. Now, I wanted to bring this information to you guys. I thought this information would be very helpful. I know Crucible is a lot of fun, and you guys have been having a blast with it. I just wanted to show you some other ways that you guys can utilize Crucible and utilize crafting and try to make the best tree that you possibly can. So if you go out and you Crucible an item, or you have a Crucible tree crafted and you know you're not going to synthesize the item and you're heavily considering fracturing it, as long as it's a weapon and as long as you don't put a gilded fossil on it, you're pretty much good to go. Now, this will not work on shields, so don't try this on shields unless somebody else knows a vendor recipe, and then we'll test it and put out an updated video. But friends, I hope this helped you guys. For now, I'm going to get this video out to you guys, and then I'll see you guys in the next one.